On Sunday, July 2nd, we commemorate the fourth Sunday of Matthew, the deposition of the precious robe of the Theotokos in Blachernae, the Synaxis of the Most Holy Theotokos of the Orphan, St. Juvenal, Patriarch of Jerusalem, and St. John of Shanghai and San Francisco. Regarding St. John, Archbishop of Shanghai and San Francisco, the Holy Hierarch John was born in Kharkov region in 1894 and reposed in Seattle in 1966. In 1921, during the Russian Civil War, his family fled to Belgrade, joining the ranks of Russian exiles in Serbia, where he later became a monk and was ordained priest. In 1934, he was made Bishop of Shanghai, where he served until the communists came to power. Thereafter, he ministered in Europe, serving as bishop first in Paris, then in Brussels, until he became Archbishop of San Francisco in 1962. Throughout his life, he was revered as a strict ascetic, a devoted man of prayer, and a truly wondrous, unmercenary healer of all manner of afflictions and woes. He served the divine liturgy daily, slept little more than an hour a day, and kept a strict fast until the evening. It is doubtful that any one man gave so much protection and comfort to the Russian Orthodox people in exile after the resolution of 1917. He was an unwearying and watchful shepherd of his sheep in China, the Philippines, Europe, and America. One such story from his time in Shanghai was he erected a monastery, an orphanage for the children, and he kept bringing in children. And the nuns that were working with him got a little annoyed because they said, "We don't have enough room, we don't have enough food for all these children, and you keep bringing them in." And finally, out of exasperation, St. John said to her, "What do you need? Just tell me what you need." She said, "Well, some food would be good." So it was fine. So he went up to his study and prayed. The next morning, they heard a knocking on the door. And when they went down, it was a British shipping company that said, "We understand there's an orphanage here. We made a mistake in our tally of the weight for our ship, and we can't bring on these barrels. It's oatmeal. It's food. Can you use it?" The nun said, "Of course. Oh my goodness, yes, we can use it. Please, please, please bring it in." So she went up to St. John, prostrated herself in repentance, and said, "All right, you serve God. You know best. We will bring in as many orphans as God needs us to bring in." Through his many missionary labors, he also brought into the church many who had not been of this fold. Since his repose in 1966, he has been especially glorified by God through signs and miracles, and his body has remained incorrupt. So if you have the opportunity to venerate the holy body of St. John of Shanghai and San Francisco, I invite you to go to San Francisco and venerate his holy tomb. Like a spiritual day star in heaven's firmament, you did encompass the whole world and did lighten men's souls. Hence your name is glorified throughout east and west. For you did shine forth with grace of the sun, O righteous, O John, our beloved shepherd. Wherefore cease not to entreat Christ, that he may show mercy and redeem our souls. To you, the pastor and protector of a countless host of homeless orphans, widows, paupers, and afflicted souls, do we offer anthems born of love and thanksgiving. As a hierarch filled with grace and zeal for piety, do you save us from the foes of apostolic truth. For we cry to you, rejoice, O great wonder-worker John. Regarding the deposition of the precious robe of the Theotokos in Blachernae. During the reign of Leo the Great, 2 patricians and brethren on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land lodged with an old widow, a Christian of Jewish descent. Seeing the many miracles wrought at a small shrine in her house, they pressed her until she revealed to them that she had a raiment of the Most Holy Theotokos kept in a small coffer. Our Lady had had 2 virgins in her lifetime who attended upon her. Before her holy dormition, she gave each of them one of her divine garments as a blessing. The old widow was of the family of one of those 2 virgins, and it had come through the generations into her hands. With the permission of God, that this holy relic might be had for the profit of many, the 2 men took the garment by stealth and brought it to Blachernae near Constantinople. In building a church in honor of the apostles Peter and Mark, they secretly enshrined the garment therein. But here again, because of the multitude of miracles that were worked, it became known to the Emperor Leo, and a magnificent church was built, as some say, by that same Leo, but according to others by his predecessors, Marcion and Pulcheria, and enlarged by Leo when the holy raiment was found. The Emperor Justin the Younger completed the church, which the Emperor Romanus IV Diogenes raised up immediately again after it had burned in the year 1070. It burned again in 1434, and from that time it remained a small house of prayer together with a renowned holy spring, which we know as Theotokos Pigi. After the 7th century, the name Blachernae was given to other churches and monasteries by the pious founders out of reverence for this famous church in Constantinople. In this church, John Cantacuzene was crowned in 1345. Also, the council against Ascendinus, the follower of Barlaam, was convoked here. O ever-virgin Theotokos, shelter of mankind, you have bestowed upon your people a mighty investure, even your immaculate body's raiment and sash, which by your seedless childbirth has remained incorrupt, for in you nature and time are made anew. Wherefore we implore you to grant peace to the world and great mercy to our souls. O godly shelter that does cover all mankind, the sacred robe that covered thy sacred body has that bestowed on all the faithful graciously, O pure Virgin, as a robe of divine incorruption. As we celebrate with love its august deposition, we cry to you with fear, O graced of God, rejoice, O modest one, boast of the Christian race. The epistle is according to the feast, from St. Paul's letter to the Hebrews. Brethren, the first covenant had regulations for worship and an earthly sanctuary. For a tent was prepared, the outer one, in which were the lampstand and the table and the bread of the presence. It is called the holy place. Behind the second curtain stood a tent called the Holy of Holies, having a golden altar of incense, and the ark of the covenant, covered on all sides with gold, which contained a golden urn holding the manna, which was the bread that came down from heaven, the rod of Aaron, which was the staff of authority that Aaron had in Exodus, that budded, and the tables of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. And so these three things are representing Christ, because Panagia, the Theotokos, has become the Ark of the Covenant. Because in her is the bread of life, Christ, who gives us life through his body, the tree, the rod of Aaron, the dead branch, which has life. Christ died and was brought back to life through his own power. And the law, because Christ is the true law, the spirit of the law, from the 10 Commandments. Above it were the cherubim of glory, overshadowing the mercy seat. Of these things we cannot speak now in detail. These preparations having thus been made, the priests go continuously into the outer tent, performing their ritual duties, but into the second only the high priest goes, and he but once a year, and not without taking blood, which he offers for himself and for the heirs of the people. This showing us that the Virgin Mary is the new Holy of Holies. And this is one of the reasons why in the Platitera you see the Panagia seated in glory, because she is the new Ark of the Covenant, holding the Holy of Holies, which is Christ our God. And why the tabernacle is no longer holding these things, but holds the bread of life, the reserved sacrament, on the holy altar. I hope that you've enjoyed today's spiritual calisthenics. Have a blessed and wonderful day.